Good morning, everyone. I'm Kenneth Lum from the UH Tax Office. I'm part of the Financial Management Office. We don't do individuals' taxes, but I'm just here assisting Viet to present a tax workshop so that you understand how to prepare the tax return for yourself in a general theoretical sense. We're not here to help you individually, but we can present the concepts and principles that you need to know to prepare the tax return. And also with me today is Alan Kimura. He's in the back, and he is from the dispersing office, and they're the office that has been issuing Form 1042S. Some of you might have received 1042S for the payments, stipend payments that you might have gotten. And we have a payroll office that issues W-2 separately. So we'll go over the two different forms, the W-2, 1042S, that you need to use to prepare your tax returns. Again, this is the federal tax workshop. 2 days from now, we'll do the Hawaii tax return. And I think some of you already might have seen it on the website because this presentation was already posted. So maybe you already saw it before. So hopefully after today's workshop, you'll understand how to prepare a tax return and hopefully get a tax refund. And how many of you got a 1042S? Just curious. W-2? Oh, okay. Okay, we'll go over the different aspects. And just show of hand, how many of you is in the U.S. for first time in 2016? Oh, okay. The rest been here at least 2 years? Okay. So just to give you a general perspective, we have, as far as federal taxes, we call, U.S. taxes. Everybody in the United States got to report income and pay taxes to a U.S. federal government agency, which is called Internal Revenue Service. So a lot of times we use the acronym IRS. So if you hear IRS, that pretty much has to do with taxes, federal tax. And unlike some other countries, in the U.S., it's each person's responsibility to report income. Some other countries, they might have already taken taxes out from your income. But in the U.S., you report your own income and you report the payment of taxes. And if there's any more taxes due, you pay with the tax return. Okay, as far as taxation for a non-resident alien, there's pretty much 5 different things you might want to consider. First is you need to distinguish, are you a resident alien or non-resident alien? So in our presentation, you'll get to understand which one you are. Are you resident alien or non-resident alien? Because that makes a big difference. And you will need to understand the word substantial presence test for F1 and J1 students, and you need to determine whether there's any tax treaty that would help you to pay less taxes, and also understand in number 4 what kind of summary income statement that you would need, which is in reference to W-2 or 1042S that you need for your tax return. And lastly, you need to complete the appropriate federal tax form for the year. Whether it's the short form, which is 1040 NREZ, or the long form, 1040 NR. So as far as defining residency, there's 2 separate thoughts. Under DHS, which is Department of Homeland Security, there's residency in regards to immigrants, non-immigrants, and undocumented, which is illegal aliens. But under the tax law, which is IRS, Internal Revenue Service, they have a different concept. It's you're either resident alien or non-resident alien. So what we're here to talk about is, are you resident alien or non-resident alien? We're not talking about the immigrants or non-immigrants. So if you can just concentrate on the IRS law. As far as if you're non-resident alien, you would pay tax on U.S. source income. That means any income within the United States, you would have to pay taxes on. But if it's coming out from your home country, then that's not something you need to pay tax. So anything that anyone in the U.S. pay you that's considered income, then you need to report it as a non-resident alien. Versus if you're a resident alien, you need to report income from anywhere in the world. So that's why it's really important to know what your status is. Are you resident alien or are you non-resident alien? So to figure out who you are as far as for tax purposes, resident alien or non-resident alien, generally it depends on this measurement that we call a substantial presence test. And you can find it in like publication 519. I'm not sure if anybody downloaded the IRS publication. It might have been on the website, I don't know. So we'll go over what is SPT, the substantial presence test. As far as in the second bullet, all F1 and J1 students, they're exempt from this substantial presence test for the first 5 years. So when I say first 5 years, we're looking at from the very first time you arrive in the U.S. You could have come 10 years ago, and then you came back 2 years later, you skipped 2 years, then we still need to remember the first year you were F1. So hopefully you've been here consecutively, so you don't need to track way back. But the general rule is you don't need to do substantial presence test for first 5 years. So is everyone here within that first 5 years? Okay. Okay. Good. Did you have a question? So you should be, so you would have to do a substantial presence test. We'll go over how you figure it out. Because we're doing 2016 tax return. So 2016 would be a 6th year. So we would have to do the calculation for how many days you're here.
Just a quick announcement. This whole thing is being recorded. So if you could, if you're asking questions, please use the mic here. Okay? And press on it when it lights up, and then you speak, and then turn it off when you're done. So then you can record all the questions.
Okay. Okay, so let me repeat. Someone in the audience asked whether substantial presence test is needed for 2016 after arriving here in 2011. The answer is yes, because 2016 is a 6th year. So you would need to do some calculation, and we'll go over what is SPT, the substantial presence test. And on the third bullet, if you notice, it says any part of a calendar year. Calendar year means January 1 to December 31. So if you arrive any part of that year, that counts as 1 year. You could be arriving December 31, and that's 1 year of your 5-year eligibility. So as far as for qualifying for substantial presence test. So we'll go over the exercise so you won't get confused, because you might think, I arrived December 31, only 1 day. Why is it 1 year? That's the rule. 1 day is 1 year for substantial presence test. So besides the passing SPT, which is substantial presence test, the other thing that you could be a permanent resident or you could be a resident alien is if you marry a U.S. citizen. You could be on your 2nd year and somehow you got married to a U.S. citizen. You're a resident alien. So you would have no treaty. You would have to report all income from anywhere in the world. You're no longer a non-resident alien. So that's another thing to consider if you're in that situation. And the last bullet point is regards to the 183 days. So if you're here in any one of the year over 183 days, assuming that's after the 5 years, then you're probably a resident alien. So you have to understand the number 183. only on the years that you need to start counting the days you're here. So the details behind this substantial presence test is 31 days during the current year. And when we say current, because we're doing 2016, I'm talking about 2016, not this year. Current year means the year that you're doing the tax return. We're doing 2016 tax return. So if you were in the U.S., not just Hawaii, because you could have been in California, New York, what have you, before coming to UH. If you were in the United States 31 days in 2016, and assuming the rest of the other years you weren't exempt from counting, meaning you passed your 5 years, then you need to figure out is the total days 183. So the calculation is current year 2016, how many days you're in the United States, multiplied by 1, plus the first preceding year, which is 2015, and you multiply that by 1/3 or divide by 3, plus the second preceding year, which would be 2014, and you multiply that by 1/6 or divide it by 6. You add those three numbers together, if it's 183 days, then you're resident alien. So to put it in a chart, that's pretty much what I just said. Line 1, how many days you were in the United States in 2016. Then line 2 is how many days in 2015, then divide that by 3. And line 4, how many days in 2014, divide that by 6. So you add line 1, 3, and 5. If those three numbers add up to 183 days or more, then you probably is a resident alien. But you have to keep in mind, could 2015 be 0? Because we're talking about any time in your first 5 years is 0, because we don't count those, because you're still a non-resident alien for the first 5 years. So you only count the days when after your 5 years. So is that clear? So I mentioned before, you could be a resident alien just through marriage, and then if that happens, then you have to file jointly, and you have no tax treaty benefits. And you might ask, what is tax treaty? Tax treaty is an agreement between your home country and the United States to give you better tax treatment. Sometimes there'll be no taxes. So it's on the publication 901 if you want to look at on the web, IRS publication 901. And the website's over there. So when you look at tax treaty, you have to be really careful. Just because you're from that particular country, the first thing you need to know is, where were you living before coming to the United States? I had people living in Switzerland, but they're a Chinese citizen. I'm looking at Switzerland tax treaty. It's from where you last reside. It's not from your citizenship or what country you're a citizen of. It's where you last reside. So you have to be careful, and that's pretty much the rule. It doesn't matter if you're a citizen of a particular country. The tax law is, where did you live before arriving in the United States? And I stress the word United States because a lot of you might have been in other states, California, New York, etc. So we look at United States, not just Hawaii. Where were you before arriving United States? And that's pretty much the country we look at for tax treaty. And because that is the IRS law. So the first thing that's explaining number 1, what I just said. And the number 2 is, do you have a U.S. residency status when you do your SPT? Was it 183 days or more? If it's 183 days or more, that means you're a resident alien, which means you cannot qualify for any tax treaty. So that's why it's important to do the SPT. And number 3 is, does the primary purpose of the individual visit qualify for exemption? For example, if you're a student and you're getting particular money for a scholarship, is there a scholarship tax treaty? If there's no scholarship tax treaty, just because there's a treaty from your country, that you cannot use that. It has to have a specific purpose. So number 4 is kind of in line with that. And number 5 is if you meet the specific qualifications set forth in tax treaty article. Because there's like parameters as like Canada up to $10,000. So there's like thresholds. You have to meet the threshold. And there's actually retroactive clause, meaning you can use a treaty for 2 years. If you forget and you use 3 times, you have to pay tax back on your first 2 years because you voided it by taking it a 3rd time. So some countries have a retroactive clause. So you need to make sure you do not violate the 3rd year. So here's some special tax treaties if it applies to you. Like for India, if you're a student, then you can take different exemptions. And if you take it more than 2 years, you would have to pay tax on the 1st and 2nd year. As far as Canada treaty, it's like no more than 10,000. So up to 10,000 is tax free. For China, they have a scholarship treaty. It's exempt for 3 years in aggregate. So when they use the word aggregate, you actually can take the every day. So if you use only 2 days in 1 year, you only use 2 days. So you can use total of 1,095 days for the China tax treaty. But it has to have the word aggregate. So not every country has that. Okay, as far as preparing the tax return, here's the steps that you should consider. First, obviously, would be gathering all your income documents. Your W-2, 1042-S, 1099, 1099 interest. Then you have to decide what is the proper form I need to do. Should I do the long form, 1040-NR, or should I do the short 1040-NR-EZ? We'll go over those 2 different forms, as well as the 8843. So we're going to discuss all 3 forms, 8843, 1040-NR-EZ, and 1040-NR. And you have to understand the word dependent. So I'm not sure if any of you have children. Then in the United States, you can add your children, and then you can have more deductions. But for non-resident alien, you cannot include your children on the tax return. And if, yes?
And spouse as a dependent?
We'll talk about spouse. Spouse is like husband or wife, and spouse cannot be included on non-resident tax return. Spouse can include on a resident alien tax return or U.S. citizen tax return. So, and then for resident alien or U.S. citizen, on number 5, we have such a thing as standard deduction. Standard deduction means there's a set amount. Like you can minus, I guess, 7,000 or something from your income. I forget the standard deduction. But for non-resident alien, you cannot have standard deduction. So there's pluses and minuses being a non-resident alien. You know, like non-resident alien, you can use tax treaty. But non-resident alien, you cannot use standard deduction. But you can minus itemized deduction. If on your W-2 you have state taxes, you can subtract the state taxes from your income. So if you have $1,000 income and you withheld like $80, your income is $920 now. So you can subtract the state tax deduction. So this is the filing as a non-resident alien. Just a recap of what we said earlier. You only pay tax on U.S. income, which means you only report U.S. income as a non-resident alien. You don't report income from your home country, because some of you might have money the government pay you from your home country. You don't need to report that. Tax treaty might exempt some income. If you earn interest income from your bank here, that interest income is not taxable for non-resident alien. but for resident alien it is. Married non-resident alien cannot file together, cannot file jointly. It's on each person, even if you're married. And generally, you only can take one personal exemption. So remember the word personal exemption. That means you can subtract $4,050 from your income. So if your income is $5,000, you're taxed on $950. And as mentioned earlier, there is no dependent, so there's no such thing as child care credit. And mentioned earlier, there's no standard deduction. And if you're on W-2, you might have noticed that Social Security and Medicare tax shouldn't have been taken out from your wages. So there's such a thing as Social Security tax. But if you're F1, they shouldn't have taken out taxes. And if they did, you can get a refund on the Social Security taxes. So this is like a continuation that if you file as a non-resident alien, this is what I mentioned earlier. Itemized deduction is only limited to state taxes. And the rest, you don't really need to add in unless you make charitable donations. Anybody gave to Aloha United Way, American Cancer, those are donations that you can write off. And investment income, if you have stocks, the dividend is taxed on at 30%. So I don't know if anyone invested in stocks and you get dividends. That's the investment income. So who should file tax return? Well, everybody should file if you're F, J, M, or Q. And what form you need? It's like I mentioned earlier, you need to do the form 8843, and we'll go over an example of that. And you can file either the long form 1040NR or 1040NR Easy. And when do you file it? Well, for 1040NR or 1040NR Easy, it's due this year on the April 18. But if you have no wages, meaning if you don't have a W-2, then you can file as late as June 15. And as far as 8843, if you only have 8843 and you have no income, you can file that by June 15. And as far as where you should mail it, you can mail it to Internal Revenue Service Center, Austin, Texas, if there is a refund or no tax due. So make sure you know what situation you have. If you have a payment, you have to make a payment with the tax return, then you have to send to Charlotte. So before you, make sure you know the right address. So you don't need to write it down too fast because we have it on the web. So, and usually the deadline every year is April 15. But because of Emancipation Day, this year is due April 18. So if you don't want to think about it, just think of April 15. Then you don't need to change that much. But that's pretty much the gist of filing a federal tax return. Now you wonder, can I file the short form, the 2 pages, 1040NR Easy, instead of the long form, 1040NR? Basically, I think most of you can file the short form as long as you don't claim dependent and you cannot claim someone else's dependent. You should be 65 years of age, under 65, only wages that you should report and scholarships, and your income is less than 100,000. So, and you cannot claim your spouse. And like I mentioned before, only itemized deduction is state taxes, and you cannot claim any tax credit. So if you have all those bullets, then you can file the short form, and we'll go over the short form, which is only 2 pages. The long form is 5 pages. Now, what happens if you don't file? Well, they might fine you and send you a letter and say you owe penalties, etc. Or I don't know how strict Homeland Security. They might say you're not complying as a lawful person in the United States. So we're kind of encouraged that you file, even though you don't have any tax due in regards to 8843. It's a short form. So if you don't have income, you need to file at least the 8843. So these are just to remind you the unusual case. PRC is People's Republic of China. Teaching, there's 3 years, there's no limit, which exempt you from any taxes. And studying, there's no limit, and it's no tax up to 5,000 per year. Indonesia, there's different limits. France have teaching, income from teaching, 2 years, no limit, etc. And these are some of the unusual cases. You can kind of refer back when you get it on the website. And as far as family issues, most times you cannot claim your family member, like if you have children, because you're a non-resident alien. But for certain people from Canada, India, South Korea, Mexico, you can claim on the tax return as a non-resident alien. But they must have Social Security number or individual taxpayer ID number. So as far as filing status, most people would either file single or married filing separate. We went over this. And I don't know if any of you have F2s. If you had your husband or your wife here, F2, they also need to file 8843, but they're not exempt from FICA taxes if they work. Yeah. So there's what's new this year is federal tax return is not required if you make less than 4,050, because if you make less than 4,050, then you already have your personal exemption, then it becomes negative. However, if you make less than 4,050 and you have income taxes withheld, it would be wise to file the tax return and get whatever federal taxes withheld. So if you have taxes withheld, it's always better to file a tax return because you can get a refund. So in summary, do the substantial presence test to determine if you're a non-resident alien or resident alien. And non-resident alien only report U.S. income. And double check if the treaty applies to you. Are you using the correct article in the treaty? Make sure it's from where you last lived before coming to the United States. I want to go over the handout that we have, which is pretty straightforward, but hopefully it will help you. So if someone come in 2011 for December 1, we're looking at 5 years. So year 1 is 2011, then 2012 year 2, 2013 year 3, 2014 is year 4, and 2015. So when we're doing the tax return for 2016, the question is, should you do a SPT? No? Yes? Okay. The correct answer is yes, because you already spent 5 years, even though 2011 is only 31 days, because any time in 1 year is 1 year. So you have to do that. So say, for instance, in that calculation, 2016 is, say, 183 days. Then next year, what you do is, it's a scrolling thing. Your year 1 is 2012. So you have to kind of keep track doing that. But you only do 3 years. So when you do 2017, current year is 2017, then 2016 is the first preceding years, and 2015. So you only concentrate on those 3 years. But whatever you already calculated for 2016, say if it's 183, it's 183 divided by 3, because the first preceding year is divided by 3. Remember that calculation? So it's moving 3 years, and you make sure you multiply by 1/3, or if it's first preceding. So in that example, if you do next year, 2016 is divided by 3, and 2017 is times 1, and 2015 is divided by 6. Then you add those 3 numbers, is it 183 days? Sometimes you don't need to add, because if 2017 is 183, you already got 183, so it's kind of simple if you already hit 183 days. So we'll go over the exercise now as far as the hypothetical example, so you can understand how to do the different tax returns. Okay, this is the real simple one, but I alluded to earlier that everybody should do the 8843. So this is only 1 page, and we have a hypothetical example. Oh yeah, sorry. Let me here. Okay, thank you. So this is only the 1 page, 8843, and it's pretty straightforward. You fill in your name, last name, then your country of residence, and your address in the United States. Then you fill in part 1, and you fill in part 3. So the example, these are the facts of that person here. Again, this is on the web, so you don't need to take too much notes. Did anybody see it on the website yet, the International Student Office website? Oh, it's there, right? So, yeah. So you can go back to it. You don't need to take too much notes. And we filled it up for you so you can kind of follow where you should fill in. So it's pretty much part 1 and part 3. And you mail it along with the 1040NR or 1040NR Easy, whichever one you're going to do. So this is just a close-up shot of what it is. It's pretty straightforward, just getting the information, your name, where you're living, where did you come from, what status that you have. Most of you is F, right? So you just put F in that respective year. So that's pretty much what it is for 8843. Easy? Yes. Can you press the...
I have a question in terms of the question 11 in 843. Do we need to fill out all the years that listed here in the form to indicate like our status?
Only if F, J, M, or Q, not all the different status. So the question is on line 11, do you need to fill out all the statuses for each of the years as stated in the form? The answer is only if you have F status, J status, or M and Q. I don't think any of you are M or Q. You could be J, but most time I think most of you here is F. So if you're F, then you put in the letter F for the year that you were a F.
Since you enter USA?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I had a J status in 2013, but now I have an F status. So should I put 2013?
Yeah, it's better you disclose everything because they want to keep track, and this is for the SPT purposes. So,
Okay.
Even if you have J status, I assume it's J1 non-student?
Yeah, J1.
Okay. Yeah, if it's J1 non-student, you should still put in the statuses. But I think, let me go back if it's that particular part. Because I don't want to confuse you. And 2013 and 2014 you didn't come back?
In 2014, I went back to my home country.
Right.
Then last year, I came with a F
Okay.
visa.
I would
F1.
say, I would change my answer. Just go with the F
Okay.
because you don't want to confuse them. And
It doesn't matter.
yeah, because the purpose of this form is to keep track of your status as a F, so that they'll know when you should do the SPT. You know.
Okay.
So basically, if you go home, then you and come back, then you start at 0 again.
No, the question is, do you start at 0 when you come back? The answer is no, because it's perpetual. So if you use 1 year, you already use 1 year. You don't start a new 5 years. You know, like if you use 1 year, that is 1 year you use. You don't have more 5 years. You already, if you use 1 year, like 2015, you were here. Sorry, 2014 you're here. 2015 you left. 2016 you're here. So actually you used 2 years already. You don't have a new 5 years. Yeah. So it's a lifetime 5 years. As far as not counting SPT. So at the same time, you might think, oh, how would they know whether if you do it right or not? They'll know because you have the DS 2019. I don't know if you're familiar with the DS 2019. It shows who you are, what status you come in. This is just to add on to substantiate, you know, as a backup. But if they want to check, they can check your DS 2019.
Do you send them a copy of DS 2019?
No.
But
You
they
just,
can check it, they can look it up.
right, yeah.
I have another question. It relates to the DS 2019, since you mentioned that, because I found they made a mistake with the day I go out and I go in. I come in.
I think if there's any corrections, you should check with the International Student Office.
Okay.
Yeah. Right? Okay. Yes.
Kids have also submitted this format, like children under maybe 10 years old. They have to.
No, you don't need to.
Okay.
Yeah. Because it's more like if you have a spouse, you know, like J2, F2, then it's more important versus you would think kids, most time they don't have income, so there's not really a major thing. But for adult, you know, they might have income, so you might want to say, hey, I'm here, you know, and I'm not, you know, hiding anything. And it's just to say, you know, I'm here.
Question. What is the repercussion in case you file as a resident or non-resident, but you are the other category?
Well, the question is if there's any repercussion if you file incorrectly. The possible answer is if you file incorrectly and they find out, then they'll assess whether there's any difference in taxes that you pay. For instance, you might have taken tax treaty when you shouldn't, then you have to pay more tax than what you did earlier. So there's just a recalculation of what is the correct tax versus what you pay, and then you would have to pay the difference. And if there's a difference in there, then you would have to pay interest and penalties on the unpaid portion. Okay, we can go on to, let me see. $1040 easy, the short form. So this is kind of easy, not just because it's labeled easy, because it's 2 pages, and I'm sure you'll find it pretty easy. It's the hypothetical facts is this person is a F1. She came here in 2015, and she has 1042S. I think most of you said you have W-2 though, and she also have a W-2. So if you're familiar with the W-2, then I can just move on. But on your W-2, just to briefly go over it, box 1 is your income, how much you got. Box 2 is the federal income tax. That's how much tax that was taken out. Hopefully, you don't have anything in box 3, 4, 5, 6. If you do, then they would held too much from you, because as a F1, you're exempt from paying Social Security and Medicare tax. So anybody have numbers in box 3, 4, 5, 6? No? Okay. And then you need to think, consider box 17, because that's the deduction I mentioned about, the state tax deduction. So you can subtract $79 from your income on the tax return. That's how much state tax that was taken out from you.
I have something in the box 12.
Box 12?
Yeah.
Box 12 might be just for health coverage or,
She has it as listed as the DD, which is medical coverage.
yeah, medical coverage. So that's okay. You don't need to, it's just to say how much the employer pay for your medical insurance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. Thank you, I don't have this at all.
Did you have 1042S?
I didn't receive anything.
Did you get any income during the year?
Yes.
Oh. If you got 1042, if you had income, the 1042S was sent last week Friday. The deadline to mail it to IRS is March 15, so UH mailed it out last week Friday to you. So hopefully you got it, because you need to have that and attach it to the tax return.
If we don't have it, where do we ask for it?
We have a list of names and where it's sent to. So one possibility is your address on file might not be the address that you're here now. I'm not sure, if there's any address change. I mean, that might be a possibility. You can see Alan afterward for the list. Yeah. Okay. So continue on this exercise. This person has W-2 and 1042S. And the numbers are pretty straightforward. So on the W-2, on box 3, the person made $3,200. So from the W-2, then you write $3,200 on line 3. And from the 1042S, if some of you have it, because it's treaty exempt from taxes, then you put on line 6, the $2,000. And the only income that is added on is line 3, so that's why line 7 is 3,200. Then you carry that total to line 10, 3,200. You figure out your subtraction, which is the state tax, the $79. So your taxable income on line 12 is 3,121 before your personal exemption. So you write the personal exemption on line 13, 4050. So when you subtract that, you get a negative number. So you should write 0. And, tax on 0 is 0, right? So everything is 0. But if you look at the W-2, federal tax was taken out $788. So that means because you don't need to pay tax and tax was taken out, you should get a refund of $788. So that's pretty much how it works. How much you pay versus how much you should pay, and then the difference is either refund or payment. Can you use a mic?
I have a question. On line 3, I have my W-2, and last year I went to a scholarship and I had some salary from my scholarship. I have to just count both of my salary.
When you say scholarship, was it a scholarship paid?
That was a kind of internship.
Well, a lot of times what you need to report is what you receive. So you should report what you receive on W-2 or the 1042S. So that's why I'm asking, did you get a supporting document for that?
Yeah, I have a supporting document.
Yeah, so 1042S?
I don't know what. It's W2 too.
Yeah, so W-2, it would be on line 3 on the tax return, 1042S.
So both have my W2.
She
Then
has
you need
two-
to add
two
I
together.
have two
W2s.
You need to
W2.
add together.
Oh, yeah.
It's not like one number, one line. If you have
Yeah, I have
two
to add
W-2,
both
then
of
you
them.
add the two numbers from box 1 together. So if you have a W-2 of 2,000 and you have a second W-2 of 3,000, you got to write 5,000
And
in
it's
that line.
Line 3.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Can you turn off the speaker? Wait, okay, you have a question.
2 questions. First, is this sample will be available online on the
Yeah.
iAccess?
Oh, yeah.
That we can check it out?
Oh, yeah,
later?
yeah.
Okay.
VET has it on the line, online.
Okay.
Uh,
Second question. I have a similar experience as that lady. I received scholarship from my college, but it's just they give me in check, but they didn't provide me any supporting documents. Say it's indicated on my W-2 or any
If
1042.
that's the case, that sounds like you should be getting the 1042S soon.
Okay.
So you should wait, and you can double check your address, mailing address, with the list that he has. We have a list of names and the address. If the address what we have is different than what you currently live, then make sure we can reroute a different one, another copy to you. Yeah. Yes, because we have to mail it whatever's on file. So I don't know if what we have on file is different than what the address you have now. So you can check what we have on file.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Excuse me, if I have refund from last year, should I write it down in column 4 or
Yeah, what?
refund tax
Oh,
from last
refund.
year?
Okay. Federal tax refund is not taxable. You don't need to
How
report
about
that.
the state?
State, it is. And you would have to do the long form, I believe, if you have state refund. Because the simple fact that you can subtract state taxes, and if it creates a refund, then, well, if you never use a standard deduction, I don't think you need to report the state refund. On the state refund, because you're not allowed the standard deduction, then I don't believe you need state refund to report state refund.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
So you should be okay. Okay. Yes.
Sorry, I watched on TV that some people get refund on purchased items depending on what their profession is. Is that applicable to us as students?
If they purchase item, it's probably for their business, and then therefore it's an expense. They can subtract that. But for everyday personal use, like supplies, computer, that's personal, so it won't be a deduction for you.
And if it's for studying or for research?
Yeah, that's still for
Still
personal.
personal.
Okay, so this is gonna be on the web, and as I say, there's only 2 pages, so this is the second page. It pretty much asks the simple question: what country you're from, what is the residence. So therefore, that's why it's really important to figure out where you last live versus what is your country that you're a citizen. That's why they have asked the 2 questions, A and B. Otherwise, if they don't need that, they wouldn't ask B. They need to know where's your residence before coming to the United States. Again, they can check on that on 2019, so if you did it wrong. So this is only the second page. Make sure you fill it completely as much as possible, because if there's anything wrong, it might delay your refund. They might send you back a letter, or line whatever is not done. Then you don't want to have a delay if you have a refund. You want to make sure you complete everything. Then there's no way they can delay your refund. So lastly, this might be the best one of this whole slide. It's pretty much a summary a easy reference page. So if you have W-2 box 1, this is where it goes on the 1040 NR Easy. So it's pretty much a simple way to help you how to do the tax return, assuming you use 1040 NR Easy. So after I would say this probably helped most of you, knowing this last page. You just look at the W-2 or your 1042S, and then you look at this page to see where you should fill it. The only thing you need to understand is figure out the tax, and I can, in the next example, next exercise, we will know how to do the tax. Because in this example, it was easy because it was negative number. So line 15 is 0. In my next exercise, you'll see how to figure out the tax. Because I don't know if anyone had a booklet, because in the back of the booklet, there's a tax table based on the columns. So, okay, so this is the easy one. Okay, so this is the last exercise, so you can see the long form. Okay, the facts here is there's a person, he's married, and he's been here since 2012, and he has different kind of income. Even he has dividends because he bought stocks. So we're trying to do a long form 1040 NR for this person and his wife. So this is his W2 1042S. He got $2,000, but when you look at 3A, because it's 04, that means there was a treaty. That means no tax was taken out, and that means it was it shouldn't be taxed here.
What happened if it was?
If it was, then you would see it on 3B, like 0.14, like 14%. So yeah, and then it'll show on line 7A. There's a number, federal tax withheld.
And so in that case, you can get a refund.
Assuming after you calculate, it was withheld more than you're only getting a refund if you say you calculate the tax to be $10 and you withheld $20. Then 20 minus 10 is 10. You get $10 refund. But if you withheld $5 and your calculation is $10, you owe $5.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're a non-resident and you're in a treaty, you're not supposed to pay any tax for the business years.
Well, if it wasn't supposed to be, then there wouldn't have been any tax withheld anyway in there.
Well, there was tax for me for 3 months. They withheld my tax until I had to tell them that I was on a treaty.
Oh, then you can take it up on the tax return. Oh, you need to press the thing. So going back to what we just discussed, if it wasn't recorded, the question was if there was any tax withheld when it shouldn't have been, what is the correct way to get the refund? The correct way is to just file your tax return. It should show how much was withheld, and you can specify on a tax return that pursuant to a certain article in the tax treaty, it was exempt, but make sure that the amount that was withheld is shown on the 1042S. Otherwise, IRS would ask why they didn't see the number on your 1042S. So the first thing to make sure is every number on the 1042S is correct. If you know $20 was withheld, that $20 better be on the 1042S under the line federal tax withheld. So as I mentioned, this is a 5-page tax return. It's pretty long because there's so many items to report. But this is the first year that IRS allowed electronic filing for 1040 NR only, not the easy form. So if you want to try the 1040NR electronic filing, you can. But, it depends how comfortable you are. I'm not comfortable with electronic filing. So it depends on how comfortable, because sometimes you might have happy fingers and you might just press, for me, I worry I have happy fingers and I press too many times and press the enter. So it's the beauty, or at the same time, it's could be, a little bit dangerous if you press too early, or you type, or you didn't have enough coffee and you type the wrong number and you press send. Then it gets a lot of hassle. So it depends on your comfort zone. For me, I need to look at every number before I do anything. I don't want to, just send. So as I mentioned before, if you're non-resident alien, even if you're married, you have to only file for yourself. So you cannot add your spouse income. But you can put your spouse name there and your spouse's social security number, because when you check box 5 is other married non-resident alien. So if you marry. But overall, you're only reporting your own income. You don't include your wife's one because of non-resident alien. But if you're resident alien, you can include your husband or your wife. So in this example, that person has a W-2, so he filled in line number 8, and he has an exempt treaty income on the 1042S. So over here on the 1040NR is line 22. So you put 2,000 there. And because the only income that's taxable is line 8, you put that 7,896 on line 23, and so on. So this is pretty much the W-2, and this is page 2. Again, all this will be on the web. So in this instance, after we subtract the state taxes of 696 on line 38, then you have 7,200, and you have a state, the personal exemption 4,050. So after that, the net number, which is called a taxable income, is 3,150. So that's where you have to figure out how much is taxed on 3,150. And that's where the tax table come in. On the back page of your 1040NR, there's a tax table. I don't know if anybody downloaded that yet. So when you look at that, then the corresponding number is 318 on taxable income of 3,150. So if the tax is 318, and then in this example he have dividends, so the tax came out $190 something. So the total tax is 516, and from the federal tax withheld on the W-2, he had $1,943. So the net difference, he over withheld. So therefore, he's getting a refund of 1,427. So is that clear? So it's pretty much, again, how much was withheld, how much should you pay. If the calculation is smaller than what was withheld, then the difference is a refund. And vice versa, then it will be a tax due if you withheld less than what your tax should be. That's pretty much the concept. So this is just a closer look. On the W-2, he had 1,943, so therefore he over withheld, and the difference he should be getting a refund, $1,427. And the back of that booklet, Instructions to 1040NR, has a table like this. So in our example, if you remember, was 3150. So you only look at the two columns. If it's between 3,150 and 3,200, and you marry filing separate in this example, the tax is 318. So you just look, make sure you use a ruler, because a lot of times you might go on the wrong line. Now this is page 3, it's just a itemized deduction. So on your W-2, you have state taxes withheld. So therefore, it's a 696 on line 1. And this person in this example had dividends, so that's why I put it $1,319 dividend, and you have 15% tax. That's $198. So most time, I don't think it affects you. You don't have dividends. Then there's a page 5 of all the standard questions that they ask. What country you're a citizen of? Where's your residence? What country did you reside? And if you use a tax treaty on line L, make sure you fill in the country, tax treaty article. That's all on 901, publication 901. And I think this is similar to what I presented earlier. This is an easy summary sheet for you to reference from. If you have W-2 and you're doing 1040NR, then this is how you transfer the number you see the W-2 or 1042S onto the 1040NR. So you can try and your chances on electronic filing if you want, because you might be more careful than me. I'm just afraid I'm not careful and I press too early. Then it gets more hassle and you got to amend your tax return if you did it wrong. So, it depends on your comfort zone. And I'm not sure if any of you read the instructions to 1040NR. This year, besides being first time for non-resident alien for electronic filing, you can also pay your tax due by the phone by calling them, or you can pay by credit card. So, which wasn't allowed before. So, but only for 1040NR now, not the 1040NR easy. So if you want to do the easy form, you have to manually do it. But nowadays you can go irs.gov. It's form fillable. So people who have bad handwriting like me, you can go online and form fillable. So all the numbers are clear, and then you can print it out and then mail it to those address I mentioned on the slide. If you have refund, it's a different address. If you have a payment due, it's a different address. So easy. Can you use the speaker?
So why would you, it's not clear to me, when do you use the easy and when do you use the other one?
Easy has less lines. If you have more intricate detail, like other category of income, then you use the long form.
Right.
And if you have higher than 100,000, then you have to use a long form.
Okay.
And the 1040NR reports dividend, and the 1040NR easy doesn't report dividends.
But yeah, okay.
Yeah, so there's different things. So almost done. So this is just a repeat. The final steps that you should be aware of when you finish your tax return, make sure you check your math. Sometimes 39 might be 93, you're transposing numbers, and make sure you sign and date your return. A common mistake is people are so anxious, they mail the return, but they forgot to sign, and therefore you're delaying your refund again. So they'll send it back to you and say, it's not signed. Make sure you sign and date your tax return. And attach all your required document. So on your W-2, if you look at the lower left, it says federal copy. Make sure your federal return has a federal copy of your W-2. And 1042S, there's a federal copy. So you got to make sure you have the federal copy and attach to the tax return. In the middle, it says, on the side, it says attach tax W-2. And you staple it.
What if you submit it electronically? How do you send your W-2 then?
We mail it to everyone on their mailing address.
I have the paper, but if I want to submit the electronic version, as you said, the 1040NR.
Okay, so the question is, how do you send a W-2 if you electronically file the 1040NR? The question is, the answer to that is you don't need to send the W-2 if you're filing electronically, which is in for 1040NR, because when you do electronic, it's convenient way, so they're not gonna burden you with all the attachments. And the reason why you don't need to, because UH already electronically send one to IRS, so they have a copy. But the reason why you need to attach one is if it's a 1040NR easy form, the step is you need to attach that one. So, you know, different people processing versus if it's an electronic process, the rule is we don't need it. But if it's a manual process, you have people working there, making sure they look at that and making sure the numbers is there. So they need the hard copies when you're manually processing it. For electronic, they'll just match it up and say, oh, okay, so-and-so, UH reported this much, and they just match if the number is correct. So, well, a lady in the back in the denim, you can press that.
I have a few questions actually. How do I know if I'm supposed to receive the 1042S? Who is supposed to receive the 1042S?
1042S recipients are usually people that got scholarship, what they call taxable stipends. It could also include travel reimbursements if you're in a research, but assuming that you're all F1 student, it's probably most time a scholarship fund that was issued to you for your own spending.
Okay. Another question in my W-2 form. I think because my last name is too long, so I don't have my first name. Would that be a problem when I'm filing the?
No, because a lot of times this reference with your social security number or ITIN, individual taxpayer ID number. So as long as that's correct, they'll reference to the right person with the right spelling,
Okay.
even though if it's truncated.
Okay. Last question, sorry. So the 12 section 9, that's the medical care. Am I supposed to put somewhere in the 1040?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. It's basically what the employer pay for you. It's not what you pay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So anybody else have question?
Yeah, two questions. One, I'm a postdoc, so I was told that I'm not going to receive neither a W-2 or a 1042.
If you're postdoctoral fellow, actually this workshop is for F1 student, but I still can answer your questions. If you're postdoc and you were told that you're not getting a W-2 or 1042S, then you're probably a resident alien.
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
So I don't have to file the N.
No, it's up to you to report. If the IRS can find out, because we don't need, the university don't need to issue any 1099 of payments made if it's considered scholarship. If you did work, meaning I put in 8 hours and I get $200 pay, then that's considered a W-2 kind of situation. Okay. Then the department should rectify and correct that. Versus if the department just go, here's 200 and do whatever you want, then the department would not issue you anything, assuming you're resident alien.
I am.
Yeah.
So in that case, I had to file not the 1040 NR.
It's 1040.
The 1040.
So whatever we explain here doesn't apply to resident alien. All the forms here is for non-resident alien.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I have another question though.
Yeah.
Does this scholarship that I receive will follow into the June 15th deadline?
No, because this is only for non-resident alien.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then,
April 15. Okay. You have a question? You can press.
In what condition we need to fill out the form AA33?
What condition?
Yeah, like previously I have to fill out the AA3 treaty-based return position disclosure under blah 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 blah.
8.
33. AA33, the form. AA33 form. I think that's for the tax.
Doing services, performing services,
I don't know.
8233.
AA33.
8833. What's the title to that form?
I can show it later.
Oh, okay.
Guys, on my.
It's not the one that we're talking about. Yeah.
No.
Well, ours was 8843.
Yeah, that's 43.
Yeah, 33. I don't know.
Okay.
Well, we can talk about it later.
Sure.
Excuse me, I received a form from my insurance company, medical insurance company. So I have to attach those forms.
No, the insurance form is just to say that you're covered by insurance. It's just you should keep it for your file, because at one time there was a law that required everyone to be covered by medical insurance. So we need to disclose, oh, we cover you. So you don't need to send that. Yeah.
Okay, I have a complete cases here since I'm a F1 student, and for the first 6 months I work as a research assistant, and so that I have a W-2 form. And for the following 6 months, I use the OPT to work as a postdoc here. And so in our department, I didn't receive any W-2 for my postdoc income. I just receive a check every month. So I'm not sure which form I should use to file.
After June, when you said your OPT, did the department know that you're non-resident alien versus resident alien? So you're non-resident alien?
Non-resident alien.
Okay. If the department know you were a non-resident alien and the correct process is to process as a non-resident alien, it should be in the system to trigger a 1042S.
1042S.
Yeah.
So I should file this form.
Yeah.
Right?
What I would suggest to is after this, check with the list if your name is on that list, and if the mailing address is correct.
Okay.
He has a list of names and the address next to the names.
Okay.
So if you don't see a name, then you should check with the department why a 1042S is not intended to be issued.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So this is about my next year tax filing stuff, but I will be graduating possibly this year, but I'm getting paid this year, so I need to file this form next year, but maybe I will be in different country, possibly in Japan or somewhere on the earth.
This is a very common question because a lot of people leave before December 31, but the simple answer to that, WEB. On the web, you can get the tax form.
Okay.
As long as you can access on the internet, you can get the Internal Revenue Service website, and by January 31 of subsequent year, the form would be ready, and it will be form fillable. You can just go online. So a lot of people ask that question, and my answer every year is we have the internet. As long as you can get the internet, then yes.
Okay.
The only trouble thing is mailing. From wherever you are to Philadelphia or Texas. So that would be the only thing to worry. But as far as retrieving the blank forms, you can get on the web.
I see. And the instruction is very clear.
Yeah, they have instructions there.
Okay.
And every year, as long as you can get on the web, you can get on the website, and you can retrieve our PowerPoint.
I see.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
I just realized I have a similar situation as her. I was a research assistant and I was in the CPT at the same time, but I just received one form, so I was supposed to receive 2 forms.
Yeah. So the answer is check on the list that we have to see that you're supposed to get a 1042S.
Because I was paid through the university by both.
Right.
So because there were different jobs.
Yes. Yeah. So if one is the W-2, one is a 1042S, then you should check our list for 1042S.
Okay. Thank you.
And if you don't see it, then you should check with the department to make sure that you're supposed to get one, then you need to get one. Tuition payment? No, tuition payment is not deductible. Yeah. no tuition. Any tuition payment is not deductible, but if you're U.S., there is a tuition credit. But I'm not sure if if you're a non-resident alien, it wouldn't apply to you. Yes.
Excuse me, do we have access to these slides?
Yeah, all these slides should be on the international student
Okay.
website, so you can check with Viet.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let's see, just some quick one. Make sure you know these addresses and those 3 different forms, 8843, and either one of the short form 1040 NREZ 2-page or the 5-page one. Yep. So hopefully, it gives you a good idea, because we don't provide you with personal assistance, but the purpose of this presentation was just to give you a general idea, and then hopefully from there you can kind of put in your specific numbers.
Just a short question. The W I got here is a little bit torn on the sides. Is it okay to send that way?
Yeah.
I mean, most of the...
Yeah, you're stapling on your left side anyway.
Okay.
Okay. All right, good luck. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.